Good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 29th day of April, 2020. Well, we have looks like a 4-11-22 numerology for the day. So we're going to reduce 29 to 11, and we won't reduce that any further because it's a master number for illumination and enlightenment. And then you have the 22 now for the year that is the cosmic builder, another master number, the most profound number, the most powerful number we have, because it's talking about soul level transformation. I have said this from the get-go that I think that 2018 that was an 11 year. That was one for enlightenment and awakening to where we were learning things. 2019 was a 3 year, and so we were going to put what we learned into action, basically. And so you saw, politically in our country, you saw the impeachment finally happen. But then this year, of course, the Senate didn't follow through with its job to remove him. So now, we see more quid pro quo going on. Well, if you want any relief, for coronavirus, now you have to turn in any immigrant if you're a sanctuary state. That's what he wants to do, which I would venture to guess is likely not going to hold up in court. But you can understand how the powers that be who want to control and oppress the masses, if you want to call it that, they're still alive and well. And because the Senate didn't do its job and remove him, now it's even more further ingrained, and unfortunately it's finding a foothold and an expression in the coronavirus pandemic response. And it's why the blue states, if you want to call them that, are struggling with getting what they need, why they're interfering with it. They're taking an austerity approach, which will not work. It's that sort of thing. This year, though, with the 22 year, we're going to see the profound effect of such things. And with any luck, we're going to, pull our heads out of our you-know-wheres and we're going to come together in shared purpose and defeat these idiots, because that's what they are. They've been keeping us oppressed. You thought you elected somebody that was going to take you all out of that. Oh, no. He's their guy. He's their guy. So that's not going to happen. And I don't know how you can possibly think that it could. Just take a look at what's been going on. Are you better off? No. No, that was never going to happen. That was a scam. And they had a chance to deal with it, and they didn't. So now they're going to really own it, I guess. I don't know. So, but right now, the moon's in the second house, Cancer. Our focus is really on home and family right now, trying to survive all of this. Some of us are having an easier time of it than others. Some of us are really struggling. And this is a difficult time, and we don't have the federal government helping like they are supposed to. No, they're not the place of last resort like they want to call themselves. They're not. In a pandemic, they're the ones that control everything and make sure that we all survive it. Not this group. They don't care what happens. As long as they survive and they have the money that they need, that's all that they care about. But right now, we have issues that are imbalanced in terms of having and not having. Sometimes you'll see people that will be overly generous in times like this when they really need it themselves, and they don't know how to moderate it. Right now, we have the moon opposing Jupiter, and it's kind of cautioning against that, to express some self-restraint. People may be uncomfortable with expressions of grandiosity. I'm totally uncomfortable with it. For me, it's like, okay, what do you want? What do you want from me? If you're complimenting me, especially if men compliment me, it's like, what do you want? I wait, because I know they want something. They always do. So it's like, okay, what are you buttering me up about? That's what it used to be called when I was a kid, buttering someone up, you see. That expression tends to explain it, doesn't it? Well, if you're feeling like if you suddenly find yourself doing that, just know you might be making people uncomfortable. This is a time that's difficult, and nobody wants to impose on anyone else. And so, everyone's going to be gracious and thankful, but at the same time, it might make them uncomfortable. There's also the moon opposing Pluto right now. If you're feeling frustrated or angry, and who wouldn't about this time, confront the reason why, but don't take any action until tensions settle out, because if they're still high, you might overreact, and you don't want to do that. So let's see if there was anything else having to do with this 4, 11, 22 energy. Now, 4 is about structure. 22 is really about restructuring everything, but from a soul level perspective, right? In this time of ascension, I'm sort of interpreting it as we're going to awaken to who we really are, and we're going to be able to, at some point here, sort of express the soul aspect of self, in terms of our relationships with others, in terms of our compassion, and our moving forward here in shared purpose. Oops, well, there goes a card. Hang on. Well, the Queen of Cups, so just keep that in mind. The power of reflection. Sometimes when you drop a card, the old adage is it's your card. It's really the card you need to be paying attention to. So the power of reflection today. Mercury's in the 11th house of Taurus, but semi-square Venus, we may feel like we want to move forward, obviously, but we can't. Have patience and find an alternative solution to whatever's frustrating you right now. We're kind of all in the same place right now. So, interact with others online and maybe find out what they're doing. If you're experiencing something that you just don't have a solution for, put it out there and say, hey, has anyone else experienced this? What have you guys done about it? And keep the conversation going. Conjunct Uranus and Mercury, think outside the box. So, this is just the time for that, isn't it? Let's see. Oh, Venus, 12th house Gemini, a semi-squared Neptune, though. Situations and people may be a little bit confusing today. This could just be a time where we're all just sort of wondering what the heck is going on, and maybe our thoughts really can't gel into something. And so having a conversation with somebody right now might be frustrating. Use your intuition, keep an open mind. And just sort of see if this is a wave that's passing. It likely is, just an energetic wave that's just keeping everybody somewhat confused, So anyway, Mars trine the ascendant. Now there's a couple things having to do with the ascendant. The ascendant right now is in Gemini, but personal goals are achievable. Also conjunct the midheaven, and that's the midheaven's in Aquarius right now. Opportunities involving life path or career may open up. Look, this may be something where you may have to say to yourself, I'm home right now. Yeah, we're surviving, but I need to maybe make a change. Maybe you have a job that takes you around that's traveling, right? And that's not something that you're really comfortable doing as things begin to open up. Not after what we've seen on airplanes right now. They're not keeping anyone safe on those airplanes. Okay, and so they should be having less people on it. They should be requiring masks and gloves. If you don't have them, they should be supplying you with them, and they should do everything in their power to keep everybody alive on that plane. But they're not doing it. At least not everybody. And so you may decide at this point that it's time to look for something else, to try to find something else that doesn't take you into situations that you might feel uncomfortable with. And right now, things are kind of opening up for that. So don't be afraid to think outside the box and to start exploring other options if the one you're going to return to is not comfortable for you. So just look around and see what's out there. You might be surprised. Lots of people may be changing up, and maybe some people are moving into other places. To be closer to parents or something. You don't know. There could be all kinds of things that come out of this. So don't be afraid to explore other things. Let's see. Well, Saturn, 9th house Aquarius, think outside the box regarding spiritual aspects of life and long-held beliefs. Again, those may be changing as well. That's the thing. When tragedy strikes of any kind, we rethink and we reevaluate. It's just what people do. And so this is a time that is unfortunately we're sort of being we're sort of having to think about things in a way we never have before, essentially, and that also is going to branch out into spiritual issues as well. So Neptune square the ascendant again in Gemini. Lack of clarity exists in relationships right now. Now this could be miscommunication, or it could be that there's deception involved. Now. It's very, very possible that this could have to do with the federal government's response to things, or it could have to do with deceptive actions on the part of people you're doing business with. If you're having to go out and about and do business with people, there could be any number of things. Perhaps some businesses you're doing business with are not observing the guidelines. They're just throwing caution to the wind, and it's like it's just another day. We're experiencing a lot of that around here where we live. And so we make sure that if we have to go in anywhere, we've got the alcohol with us, the spray, we've got gloves on, a mask on, and because they're not taking any precautions. So I don't understand that. But that's where we are right now. But anyway, avoid making decisions. If you're talking to a partner, or you're dealing with other businesses and some kind of other partnership type relationship, and that's just transactional, by the way. It doesn't mean that you're a partner in a business. It means you're doing business with them. If you feel that deception is going on, if you feel like, hey, something isn't right here, then take a step back. I wouldn't confront anything right now. It just could be just a moment in time where they got a little loose on their, and it just happened to be when you were there. It may not be how they're really handling things there. So that's my point. Sometimes I think people just, they act without thinking. They're on autopilot, and we've all lived a certain way. And now, even though this is in our faces, it's still sort of hard to deal with it. So in any event, I think I'm going to move on from that. That's really all I have. Everything else is pretty much the same from yesterday, and I don't think we need to repeat it. So let's go ahead and get started with the cards. I'm just really interested in this 4-11-22 energy to see what happens today. You've got the energy of structure, restructuring with the 22. You've got, and the 4 is also about foundation, and then 11 is illumination and enlightenment. So what are we going to find out today? What's going to be made clear? It's still early. Anything could happen. Let's go ahead and take our cards, though, our first 3, and see what we have for today. If you haven't been here before, welcome. Thank you so much for coming by. I'm going to take the 13th one each time for randomness sake. I don't normally do that in normal readings, but for this I do, just to be as random as possible. And then we'll take a rune from the Elder Futhark bag, and we'll close out with the Geomancy rune. So let's go ahead and get started and take our first 3 cards. Oops. If I can. It'll be a day where my hands don't work. I was transplanting California poppy. If you let it seed out, it's going to come up everywhere. And so it's all in my strawberry beds. And so I haven't done them all. I've done 2 of them. So I don't have a whole lot left to do, but I still have some more transplanting of the first go around to do. And it's free plants and they're perennials. So, you never want to throw them away, and they're so gorgeous. Anyway, we're going to start with judgment today. I prefer other non-traditional decks. Some of them they call it Eon. Some of them call it Rebirth. Druidcraft calls it Rebirth, and I think that Crowley calls it Eon in excuse me in his Thoth deck. But here we have the angel Gabriel blowing his horn. We see the cross on the flag, the pennant right there. He's just sort of resting on the clouds there as everyone gets out of their coffins and says, hi, look at me. So basically, when you're talking about judgment, you're talking about renewal and rebirth. That's why I like the idea of calling it Eon or rebirth or renewal or something like that. That's really what the card of judgment is all about. What am I stepping on? I have to clean up my floor clearly because I'm stepping on things. Anyway, the idea about judgment, it's the 20th card of the major arcana. So you're talking balanced polarity, balanced energy. It's a 2 energy. And so now you're basically trying to balance out soul with what happened in form and all of that, finding some kind of understanding about it all. It's not a time of judgment. Nobody's judging you. That's not what that is. You don't have that sort of expression in the soul realm. You have it here, but it's coming from ego. It's not even coming from higher self. It's just coming from ego and the personality that is basically the soul's vehicle to function, right? Well, hopefully soul and higher self is informing the ego or the personality to do the right thing, but sometimes ego runs amok and doesn't pay attention to what higher self is saying. And so, at the end of it all, there's sort of a bit of a reevaluation and say, okay, this is what happened. And, maybe I need to rest a while before I do it all over again, or I move into something else. Or because the fact of the matter is you've got your lives are everywhere all at once. You're not just here. You're in a lot of places. Your soul is expressing itself. The oversoul expresses itself into form in a variety of places all at once. And so we're having a number of experiences to draw from. But at some point, you may want to just take a moment, take a breath, and just sort of hang for a while, and then maybe, before you decide to go and do something else. And so rest assured, other aspects of the soul, of your oversoul, are other places. So it's not like you're just, being a slacker or anything. Let's do another card. Oh, well, it's going to be a multi-major arcana day. We have the Tower, 16th card of the major arcana. I have to tell you, though, Crowley's is the best. I don't think there's a better expression of the Tower than his, really. Well, it's not his expression, it's Lady Frida Harris's expression, but, if you want to read Lon Milo DuQuette's book on the Thoth Tarot, on understanding it, you will be blessed with excerpts from letters between Lady Frida Harris and Aleister Crowley. And sometimes, in fact, honestly, I find reading those even more fun. And the book is excellent, by the way. I'm not saying that it's not a vital read if you want to understand the hermetic aspects of tarot, particularly having to do with the Thoth Tarot, but it can be, you can use it for, you can extrapolate the information for other hermetic oriented decks as well. All I'm saying is that what they did, I'll try to find it here before we close, and I'll show you, but it's incredible if you haven't seen it. Well, here we have the Ace of Swords. New thinking, new awareness. I'm going to put that actually in the center. We're going to think of it as a major card because it has the same effect. Your aces have pretty much, as far as I'm concerned, the same effect as the majors. They're soul archetypes. It's all of the, it contains all of the information for the entire suit of swords. It's an air element, so we're talking intellect, reason, justice, not so much intuition, but probably the fire element is more intuitive, and then the water element would be more empathic, but intuition's part of all of it. These things are rarely just one thing, okay? They contain other elements within there, but the aces are considered the purest form of it. So from there, different things branch out for cards 1 through 10, a little aspects basically having to deal with intellect and justice and fairness. Excuse me. The pollen count around my house with the juniper is massive. And so I have all these allergies from the juniper. It's just making me nuts. I spent so much time out there yesterday and the wind was up. So consequently, it was, I didn't sleep all that well because of it. I was just too stuffy. But anyway, I think overall we've got a 2, a 1, that's 3, And then we have a 16, which is 7. So that's 10, that's 1. So we have energies of new beginnings. I have a feeling now this is going to relate to our 11 energy for the day, though, in terms of enlightenment. And I say that because of the Ace of Swords. Hand reaches out from the clouds. The clouds are dark, though, aren't they? You know, here, let's see, are they the same darkness? The ace might, let me get the right hand here. The ace actually might be a little more dark on the clouds. So out of deception, truth shows up, right? Truth is revealed. If you liken it to the 4, 11, 22 energy for the day, then we're talking about some kind of awakening or illumination or revelation or clarity surrounding what's happening in our lives right now. So with respect to what's happening in terms of the virus and how we're managing that, both in terms of self-isolation, closing businesses, reopening businesses, all of that, whatever's happening with that, we're going to have to take another look at things. And because there's some things that are going on behind the scenes that aren't right, that are interfering with the progress that we're making, and we need to understand what that is. And it sounds to me like some truth is going to come out. Apparently, there was something with respect to Roger Stone's documents that are coming out, legal documents with respect to the trial, search warrants, things like that are being released. There's also some information that could be coming out vis-a-vis the Mueller report, because there's a judge now who has it, the unredacted copy of it, and he's trying to decide whether or not Attorney General Barr did something nefarious when he wrote up that little summary that said, oh yeah, no harm, no foul, nothing to see here, folks. Total lie. Okay, total lie. It's completely a lie. I mean, just from the redacted report that I read, total lie, total lie. I'm sorry, I don't buy any of it. So consequently, there's some things that are being revealed right now. Also, in terms of some other truth is going to be revealed as more places open up. If they're not doing it safely, then we're going to understand a little more about the truth of this virus and just how contagious that it is. Now, there's also been, they've decided, rather than turning the Defense Production Act into forcing people to make PPE supplies for everybody, oh, no. Instead, we're going to keep the meat plants open. Now, I understand they have a ton of people working for them, but they're incubators for this thing. If they're not going to protect their workers, we have a problem. Okay, we have a big problem. And when the president of the country says you have to do it, that he's invoking the Defense Production Act and putting them under it, okay, that's fine. That's going to be fine. They're part of the essential food because we all eat meat, right? Well, most of us do. And that's fine. But you have to protect the workers. You have to protect the workers. You can't have your son-in-law come out and tell everybody, oh, we've done enough testing so we can open the guy. I feel comfortable. Who cares what you think? You're a child. You know nothing. Reminds me of a couple years back, we have a joint community well. My husband is the guy who takes care of it. And he has he's been the system operator since 1986. And so he was the one so when the well went bad and it was pumping sand, he was the one tasked for like almost, 2 months to keep water flowing through sand to 14 homes while we're waiting for the drillers to come because they were swamped that year. It was a 6-week minimum wait just to get them here. So we had the people we wanted. They were coming, but he had to keep the water flowing, right? So we had a neighbor who supposedly was named outside of anyone's purview, the water quality guy. No, that's my husband. So whatever he was doing, we don't know. But he comes up with a spreadsheet, right? And it's like, okay, we should be able to have this much water to everybody. When you have a blob of sand that you're expecting to pump water through, you're never going to know how much water you've got. There's no way you can create a spreadsheet to know what the effect of all that's going to be. And if when you have a well cistern operation that we have, you will pump down the cistern to nothing and none of us will have any water if you follow that ridiculous spreadsheet this guy did. And when I saw today that Jared is talking about this, oh, well, the statistics show, screw your statistics, dude. You know nothing. Just like my former neighbor knew nothing, right? And had we listened to him, oh my God, we would have had to have water hauled in. And we have a 25,000 gallon cistern. It was going to cost us roughly $400 a time. And we would have had to do it every other day. We couldn't afford it. So my husband had to go out there and turn it off, turn it on every 30 minutes to try to suck the water out and develop the well, right? To keep the water flowing, to have that kind of weird tension with it, to keep it flowing. He had to do that with no help from anyone, right? Except Mr. Spreadsheet Boy, who was stupid about this, who thought it could be done on a computer and have computer modeling. Sometimes it's helpful, but in this case, it was not. Ignoring the one unknown that would screw it all up. The one unknown is if we open too soon and we don't protect anybody, how many dead are we going to have? There's your unknown. If you aren't going to protect people, you can't open things back up. So, now, revelation, awakening, understanding to the truth. Not to ego, but to spirit. You awaken to this truth of spirit that we're all in this together, and we cannot be making decisions that are short-sighted and not based on some son-in-law's idea of what's enough data. We need to blow things up, don't we? Last week we had the guy in the Oval Office decides to talk about, can we bleach or disinfect, or no, not bleach, but can we disinfect our insides? And yesterday it was told to him that, yes, we've got some people that are doing that. Do you take responsibility? Oh, no, I don't take any responsibility for that. I didn't say that. That wasn't what that was. That was sarcasm. That was fake news. You're fake news. No, we all watched. We all heard. He did it. I'm sorry. He can try to rewrite it all he wants to, but it's not going to happen here. The 16th card of the major arcana, the Tower, lightning coming in, blowing the lid off. Yeah, we need to blow the lid off of the deception that's going on. We need to blow the lid off and come to some kind of understanding about what's really going on so that we know. Our very lives depend upon it. Our very lives depend upon having truth, which we don't have. Again, it's not that you can't go about your daily lives. You just have to do it in a way that's safe. If the federal government will not put the Defense Production Act into play to create the masks that we all need and the gloves that we all need so that we can then go out in the world and do business with people, have businesses reopen safely. That's all we're saying. But we have a federal government that isn't interested in doing that. So you may need to be asking yourself, why? Why don't you want me to live? What do you get from me dying? Yeah. Those are the questions we need to ask right now. Judgment is about awakening. The 11 energy is about awakening. The Ace of Swords is about awakening. And the Tower is about awakening. I just think that that's what this is all about today. We got to wake up. We got to wake up to the nonsense and the deception from the federal government that's keeping us from progressing here. We should have already been past this. See, that's the sad part. Had we hunkered down in February, because they knew, hell, they knew it. They knew in November. They knew in November what was coming. They knew. And at least by January, they should have been informing the country, look, come February, if this continues, we have to shut the thing down. Everyone's going to have to stay home. And in January, they should have been getting the legislation together so that we knew what everybody was going to receive so that they could stay home. And who was going to be designated to remain open, and then we're going to support those businesses with PPE and require that they wear them. But we didn't do that. Had we done so, I would venture to guess we would be enjoying our gardens with everyone now instead of what's happening. Maybe still with masks and gloves, but there wouldn't be the restrictions necessary so that we survive. Uru's second rune of the Elder Futhark. It's about the forming force behind the manifestation. And what is that? That's soul, that's spirit, that's the creator. If you believe as I do that the creator is all that is, then everything is an expression of source energy or the creator or the great mother. Focusing into form that which then, can be used as a vehicle for understanding and learning, and, that's what this is all about. And now we're just remembering who we are in all of this, in this broader scheme of things. We're not the ego where we allow for division and conflict and all of that. In truth, we're the soul that needs to be driving the ship here instead of allowing ego to take the con. We can't do that. And that's what's been going on. Uruz breaks through all of that and forms something new. It's creation energy. Similar to, it's a two energy. So, we're talking, in terms of illumination and awakening. It's soul coming in saying, look, there's some truth here that we're all missing, and we need to wake up to it. And we need to form a new path forward. Think of Uruz as the forming force. Thurs as the catalytic force that breaks through barriers. Fehu, the first rune of the Elder Futhark, that sends the energy, that focuses the energy to begin with. It's almost like Fehu is the beginning point of that energy, of the creation energy. Uruz is forming it into something. Uru, and then Thurzaz catalyzes it into form. And then Ansu's, Odin's rune, the voice of spirit, expresses it. We need a different path forward here. We need a way of understanding where we blow apart deception, we blow apart whatever is not keeping us going in a shared direction here. I've said this before, this is not a personal sovereignty issue as much as we might want it to be. It really isn't. You can see it that way, but it's not going to help everyone, and it's not going to get us through this more quickly. I don't know why the guy in the Oval Office functions the way he does. There's lots of ideas out there what's going on with him. If even one of them is true, he shouldn't be making any of these decisions because he shouldn't be there. But he is. And until he's not, we have to contend with this. We can't do it by sticking our heads in the sand and thinking this is a personal sovereignty issue. It's not. No matter how this happened, no matter who did it, if it happened from an animal, if it got out of a lab, whatever the etiology of this ends up being, right now the only thing that matters is that we survive it and that we do so together. It's the only thing that matters. So whatever, point you want to make to someone else, do it from behind a mask. Don't get near people. Don't, you don't know if you're carrying it. You don't know. Some people, they might not even have any symptoms, and they have it. And they're passing it to people. They don't feel sick, so they don't know. But what if you pass it to an older person who, can't survive this. What then? Will it have been worth it to you? And for some people, maybe it is. That's the sad part. Some people don't have the wherewithal to understand their effect on other people, and they don't feel any kind of responsibility for that. I don't happen to be one of those people, so I really don't understand anyone who is, but it seems to be an awful lot of people like that out there. The geomass urine today, though, is conjunctio. So it's telling us to join together and align together. I don't know how we move forward in shared purpose here and get out of this if we don't. We have to be on the same page. Even if we don't want to be, we're just going to have to suck it up and do it. And then, we'll get through this. But there has to be some awakening. There has to be some blowing off of the tower so that some truth comes into play here, so that we understand what's at stake on this day of awakening and profound soul level change. So I don't know. I guess that's it. That's really all I have. The correspondences and astrological information will go up here on the blog while I watch this, and then because I watch these before I put them up, and make sure I didn't completely screw up. Sometimes, if it's not too bad, I'll just put something in the comments. So always check the comments. You never know. I might have said something, and it's like, oh, okay, I didn't mean to say that. I meant to say this. I get in a flow. And sometimes it just things come out and I don't mean them to. But anyway, and so anyway, like I'll say, this is a suit of wands or something. It's like, no, it's not. It's a suit of swords, and I know that, right? I don't know why my brain short circuits like that, but sometimes it does. I guess probably I'm old and that's what happens. But anyway, I'll watch these and I'll notice something, and if it's too bad, I'll just trash the whole thing and start all over again. But if not, then and if it's a good reading, I'll keep it. If not, I'll start completely over. But anyway, but check out over there at the blog. The correspondences will go up here soon. This will also get posted over there. I don't just leave it on YouTube. I post it there too. Sometimes I post them, if I remember, over on Patreon. Still trying to decide if I want to be there or not. I'm not so sure about that anymore. I wasn't sure about it when I did it, but I just did it. But I don't know. I feel like I'm getting myself too spread out, and I don't like that feeling. Maybe it's just because, I'm getting garden stuff going. As soon as that gets done, then, that sort of transitions into more management. But I still got a lot to do even when I'm doing that. So I may drop that one. I don't know. I'm not really feeling, I'm not feeling drawn to it like I should. So I don't know. I feel like it's just an extra place for me to be in, and I don't know that I'm going to continue it. I'll probably make a decision though. I might leave it up till the end of the year, but I might make a decision in June as to whether or not I'm going to keep it up. But otherwise, check out stuff I write over at Medium. I do stuff over there too. Some of it's cross-posted from the blog, but some of it's just for Medium. So if it doesn't say this post appeared at Stepping Aside, you'll know that it's just for Medium. So anyway, I guess that's it. This is a difficult time, and pay attention today to synchronicities. Pay attention to new information that's going to come out with this 11 energy for today. Very important. Don't discredit it, okay? Especially if it's putting into perspective what the federal government has been doing. The truth of all this is going to come out. It may not come out until after the election's over, but it's going to come out. We're going to know who these people really are, and we're going to understand what has gone on. And it's going to be, for some, a validation of what we've always known, but for others, it's going to be very difficult for them. Some will resist till the bitter end, probably. But for those that think he's the be-all and end-all of everything, that he's the savior, no, he isn't. And we're going to understand that. We should have already understood it. But the machinations of the Attorney General prevented that. So now it's going to take a little longer, but it's going to come out. And for some, it's going to be difficult. So it'll be a time to express compassion, but it'll also be a time to leave them to themselves because they have to understand. And it may take some real personal struggle to do so. And we have to allow them that. It's not a punishment, it's allowing the fullness of understanding to take hold and clearly telling them, like we've all been doing, hasn't had an effect. So this may just be something that has to resonate from within, and they may have some internal emotions and struggle and all of that about it. But I think that's what's coming. And at some point, we may end up having to help them through that process. But in the beginning, you just let them know, yeah, okay, I'm sorry, but that's what's going on. And I'm sorry that you didn't know. And now you do. And, but then you have to, and I'll be here for you, but you're going to have to struggle with this. You have to make this understanding. It's not going to be imposed on them. All right? It can't be at this point. We're dealing with really fundamental belief structures now that need to be looked at and then let go of. Those that do not keep us on the path of spirituality and shared purpose and understanding of who we are to one another, because it's not the other that we should see, but the other side of self. So that's the restructuring this year. That's what this is all about, to get us to understand who and what we are and who and what we are to one another, so that we don't allow anyone like this to come in and disrupt that again. We have to put an end to patriarchy. We have to put an end to all of this oppression where only a chosen few get what they want. The rest of us, are immaterial. Well, no, we all matter. We're all part of this. And it cannot simply go to just a small group of people. So that's what this struggle is all about. And, if within this pandemic structure we can understand that and we can align together in shared purpose to try to get out of this, maybe that process will tell us something and tell us the things that we've always needed to know, and maybe that we've always known, is that we go forward together here. We don't go anywhere if we're not on the same page. Now, it doesn't mean that we're always going to agree, because that's what creates something new. But then once we decide on it, let's go there. Let's do it together. Let's make it what it can be, instead of people resisting and picking away at it, and, trying to stop progress. Because that's what these people are actually trying to do. They're trying to stop progress. The whole "Make America Great Again," that was never going to happen. Not at all. And hopefully now that we're watching what's happening, we can see that. We can see that playing out. So in any event, I'll see you tomorrow. And if you haven't clicked subscribe, I'd love you to do that. And be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.